The wind cut like a blade, stinging her face. Lin Ruoxi huddled in the corner of the dilapidated prison cart, her once elegant gown embroidered with lotus vines, now torn to tatters by thorns, exposing skin mottled purple and stiff with cold. The wheels ground over the rutted dirt road, jolting her so violently she felt her organs shifting, a metallic sweetness rising periodically in her throat. Cough, cough. The violent coughing tugged at the wound in her chest. Lin Ruoxi's brow furrowed in pain, tears spilling unbidden down her cheeks, mixing with the grime to trace 2 curved tracks, 3,000 miles of exile from the bustling capital to this desolate wilderness. In barely a month, the once pampered Lin family had been reduced to rags and starvation. At the other end of the cart, her father Lin Mingyuan was berating her younger brother Lin Yushuan. "Stop sniveling, cry one more time, and I'll dump you in these God-forsaken mountains for the wolves. If your sister hadn't been so pig-headed, insisting on bringing all that useless rubbish, would we be suffering like this?" Lin Ruoxi's heart plummeted, as if pierced by an icicle. Useless rubbish. Those were life-saving provisions she'd scraped together by selling her dowry, then smuggled out of her spatial storage under cover of darkness. She thought back to the vermilion earrings her mother had pressed into her hands before her wedding, eyes rimmed red as she'd cautioned. "Ruoxi, these are a Lin family heirloom. Keep them close. You mustn't lose them, no matter what." At the time, she'd assumed they were merely sentimental. It wasn't until the imperial decree of exile came down, and in their frantic flight, the earrings were accidentally scratched, her fingertip touching the crimson liquid that seeped out. Only then had she stumbled upon the pocket dimension connected to them. The space wasn't large, but it was a world unto itself, containing several acres of fertile soil and an inexhaustible spiritual spring. More miraculous still, time inside barely moved perfect for storing grain and medicine. Learning the family would be exiled 3,000 miles. Her first thought had been to stockpile using the space. She'd sold her beloved jewelry, commissioned buyers for vast quantities of gold, silver, grain, and medicine, even winter clothing and essential tools, stuffing it all into the spatial storage. She'd believed these supplies would see the family through the exile. She'd been wrong, catastrophically wrong. In her family's eyes, her sacrifices were merely expected. Father grumbled that the grain she produced wasn't fine enough. Mother secretly gave her padded coat to her brother. Even her usually mild grandmother muttered behind her back that she'd married a useless husband who'd dragged the whole family down. And her husband, Shen Junyan, the man who'd schemed so cunningly to marry her, had shown his true colors the moment the Lin family fell. When the Lin household was raided, Shen Junyan hadn't lifted a finger to help. Instead, he'd seized the opportunity to gobble up several of the Lin family shops in the capital. When the exile decree was announced, he didn't even show his face, merely sending a steward with a broken-down donkey cart and a few strings of copper coins, calling it marital affection. "Sister, I am hungry." Her brother Lin Yushuan's whimpering dragged Ruoxi back to the present, his tear-swollen eyes fixed on the small cloth bundle in her arms, which held the last flatbread. Mother Su immediately frowned. "Ruoxi, your brother's still young, his constitution weak. Give him that flatbread. You are his elder sister, making allowances is only proper." Ruoxi looked up at her mother's utterly shameless expression, then at her father's impatient eyes. Suddenly she laughed a desolate sound. These past days she'd doled out grain from her space to feed the family, secretly subsisting on nothing but sips from the spiritual spring. She traded a silver hairpin to a refugee yesterday for this flatbread, hoping to have something in her belly. "I won't give it." Lin Ruoxi's voice was hoarse but firm. She clutched the bundle tighter. "This is mine. Why on earth should I hand it over? How can you be so unreasonable, Lin Mingyun flew into a rage, hand raised to strike. Lin Ruoxi didn't flinch, merely looked at him coldly. Go ahead, father, hit me. But once you do, you can forget about getting another grain of rice from me. Lin Mingyuan's hand froze mid-air, his face cycling through shades of crimson and ashen. He knew perfectly well they'd survived these days solely on what Ruoxi had provided. If he truly pushed her too far, they'd never complete the 3,000-mile journey. Seeing this, Su quickly changed tactics, taking Lin Yuxuan's hand. Yuxuan, we're not hungry anymore. When we reach the relay station, Mother will find you something to eat. Turning to Ruoxi, she added, Ruoxi, Mother knows you've had it rough, but we're family. You can't just abandon us. Family. Lin Ruoxi closed her eyes, unwilling to look at their hypocritical faces any longer. In her previous life, she'd been ruined by this so-called family and marital devotion. On the exile road, she'd given the last of her provisions to her family, only to collapse from starvation by the roadside. When she came to, she discovered they'd abandoned her in the wilderness because she'd outlived her usefulness. Later, she'd been rescued by kind strangers and barely scraped by, but she could never let go of that man who'd broken her heart or her family. Years afterward, she'd learned by chance that Shen Junyan, having absorbed the Lin family's wealth, had married Chu Wan, the Minister of Revenue's daughter, and enjoyed a meteoric rise through the ranks. Her family, with Shen Junyan's covert assistance, had ended their exile early and returned to the capital to resume their comfortable lives. Turned out they'd never needed her help. They'd simply used her as a convenient tool to be discarded when spent. The moment she learnt the truth, Lin Ruoxi's heart died completely. She swore that, if there were a next life, she'd never again be that foolishly kind, weak Lin Ruoxi. She'd make those who betrayed and wounded her pay a terrible price. Sister, what is wrong with you? Lin Yuxuan's voice rang out again, tinged with irritation. Lin Ruoxi's eyes snapped open. The desolation vanished, replaced by bone-chilling coldness and iron determination. She felt her fingertips grow warm. The vermilion earrings seemed to be heating up. The next instant, overwhelming dizziness struck. Her vision went black as she lost consciousness entirely. Ruoxi, Ruoxi, wake up! A gentle voice called in her ear. Lin Ruoxi slowly opened her eyes to familiar bed curtains, embroidered with her favorite orchid pattern. A faint sandalwood fragrance filled her nostrils, the signature scent of her chamber. Mother. Lin Ruoxi looked at Su sitting beside the bed, scarcely daring to believe. This Su bore none of the haggard cruelty from the exile road. Instead, she looked concerned, dressed in decent silk with a silver hairpin in her hair. Thank heavens you are awake. You frightened me half to death. Su exhaled in relief, pressing a hand to Ruoxi's forehead. The fever's broken at last. Child, you went to offer incense at the temple a few days ago. How did you manage to get caught in the rain and catch such a chill? Offering incense at the temple, caught in the rain, fell ill. Ruoxi frowned, struggling to remember this had happened a month before her wedding, back when the Lin family hadn't yet fallen, when she was still the beloved eldest daughter, when Shen Junyan was still pursuing her relentlessly. She raised her hand to her ears. The cool touch of the earrings met her fingers, the very vermilion earrings Mother had given her later. She'd been reborn. Reborn before the Lin family's downfall and exile, before Shen Junyan's false affection had deceived her. Overwhelming joy flooded through her, leaving her trembling tears welled up again, but this time from relief. Mother, I am fine now. Lin Ruoxi sniffled, struggling to compose herself. She couldn't let anyone detect anything unusual, especially not her family. Having endured the previous life's agony, she'd never again believe in their so-called family bond. This life, she'd live for herself, prepare in advance, and protect herself, and what was rightfully hers, seeing her recovered. Sue smiled. Good, that is good. Oh, by the way, Junyan came by earlier to see you. When you didn't wake, he left. He told the kitchen to prepare bird's nest soup for you. It should arrive shortly. Shen Junyan. At that name, Ruoxi's eyes turned glacial. In her previous life, this man had used a mask of tender consideration to win her trust and love. He'd always claimed he loved her for herself, not the Lin family's status. But the moment the family fell, he'd revealed his monstrous nature. This life, she'd tear off his mask and make him pay for his betrayal. I see. Lin Ruoxi's response was flat, her expression unchanged. Sue found her daughter's indifference odd. Ruoxi, what is the matter? You used to be so delighted when Junyon visited. Perhaps I am still feeling unwell from just waking. Ruoxi found an excuse and closed her eyes, unwilling to say more. Though puzzled, Sue didn't press, merely reminding her to rest well before taking her leave. Once the room fell silent, Lin Ruoxi opened her eyes. Concentrating, she willed herself into the familiar space with a thought. Inside, several acres of fertile land lay neatly arranged. Beside them, a small spring bubbled with clear water radiating faint spiritual energy. This was precisely the space she'd accessed in her previous life. Apparently this time around, she needn't wait for the earrings to be scratched to unlock it. Lin Ruoxi walked to the spring, cupped some water, and drank. The sweet liquid dissolved instantly, transforming into warm currents flowing through her body. Immediately, all her discomfort vanished, her spirits lifting considerably. The spiritual spring's effects were truly remarkable. Delighted, Ruoxi realized that with this space, she'd have a solid foundation for this life. She withdrew from the space, her gaze falling on the dressing table beside the bed. It held many pieces of jewelry, part of her dowry. In her previous life, she'd sold them all, converting them to grain for those ungrateful family members. This life, she'd put these items to good use, paving her own path forward. Rising from bed, she approached the dressing table and picked up an exquisitely crafted phoenix tail gold hairpin. With a thought, the hairpin vanished, appearing in her space. Success. Heart soaring, Lin Ruoxi proceeded to transfer all the jewelry on the dressing table into her space. Next, she needed to stockpile massive quantities of grain, medicine, and daily necessities. She recalled that in her previous life, the Lin family's downfall came from being framed in a palace power struggle, though she couldn't remember exactly when, only that it wasn't far off. She had to make full preparations as quickly as possible. Just then, her maid Chuyo entered carrying a bowl of bird's nest soup. "Miss, this is the bird's nest soup young master," Shen ordered from the kitchen. "Please drink it while it is hot." Ruoxi looked at the soup, cold light flickering in her eyes. In her previous life, she'd been moved to tears by such small kindnesses from Shen Junyan, devoting herself to him heart and soul. This life, these things appeared to her as nothing more than sugar-coated poison. Leave it there. Her tone was indifferent. Chiyu hesitated. "Miss, the soup won't taste good once it cools. I've no appetite at present." Lin Ruoxi walked to the window, gazing at the courtyard scene while her mind raced. How could she extricate herself from Shen Junyan? How could she persuade her family to avoid the impending disaster? But she quickly dismissed the notion of persuading her family. In her previous life, she'd sensed danger and warned her father, only to be scolded for talking nonsense. Even if she spoke up this life, they wouldn't necessarily believe her. Rather than waste energy, she'd better focus on her own plans. As for Shen Junyan, she had plenty of ways to make him back off. Early the next morning, Shen Junyan arrived at the Lin residence, dressed in moon-white brocade with a jade belt at his waist. Face like polished jade, cultured and refined, he cut quite the figure of an elegant young gentleman. "Ruoxi, are you feeling better?" Shen Junyan entered the room, his gaze falling tenderly on Lin Ruoxi, voice full of concern. In her previous life, Lin Ruoxi would absolutely have been moved by this display. Now she only felt nauseated. Thanks to young Master Shen's concern, much improved. Lin Ruoxi spoke coolly, her manner distant. The smile on Shen Junyan's face stiffened. He hadn't expected this reception. After a stunned pause, he assumed she was still angry. Ruoxi, are you cross with me for not waiting until you woke yesterday? I didn't mean it. There was urgent business at home. I had no choice but to return. Young Master Shen reads too much into things. I am not angry. Lin Ruoxi picked up a book from the table and began leafing through it, not even glancing at him. Shen Junyan's expression darkened further. He'd been courting Lin Ruoxi for some time. She'd always been pleasant with him, even displaying a young girl's bashfulness. Never had she been this remote. He approached her side, reaching for her hand. Ruoxi, what has gotten into you? Have I done something wrong? Tell me and I'll change. Lin Ruoxi jerked backward, evading his. She looked up at Shen Junyan, eyes icy. Young Master Shen, please conduct yourself properly. Men and women shouldn't touch. Your behavior is improper. Shen Junyan's face went completely dark. He hadn't expected the usually gentle, compliant Lin Ruoxi to treat him this way. Ruoxi, what in blazes is wrong with you today? His tone chilled. Our wedding date approaches. Surely I can't even hold your hand. Wedding date? Lin Ruoxi gave a cold laugh. Young Master Shen, I believe we should cancel that. What did you say? Shen Junyan's eyes went wide, thinking he'd misheard. Ruoxi, do you realize what you are saying? Our parents arranged this marriage. How can you simply cancel it? What does it matter who arranged it? Lin Ruoxi set down her book and stood to face him. I don't like you. I don't want to marry you. Therefore, the wedding cannot proceed. You don't like me. Shen Junyan's face turned livid. Lin Ruoxi, you weren't like this before. Have you been listening to gossip, or have you set your sights on someone else? Whom I fancy is none of your concern. Lin Ruoxi said coldly. Bottom line, I don't accept this match. Go home and tell your parents to come dissolve the engagement as soon as possible. Shen Junyan trembled with rage. He'd schemed so painstakingly to marry Lin Ruoxi, precisely because the Lin family had wealth and influence to propel his career. Now she wanted to break the engagement. Didn't that ruin his entire plan? Lin Ruoxi, don't push your luck. Shen Junyan said through gritted teeth. I'd advise you to think carefully about how breaking an engagement affects a woman's reputation. Once it is broken, how will you ever marry? That is not for young Master Shen to worry about. Lin Ruoxi was unconcerned. I'll manage my own reputation. You'd best hurry home and prepare to dissolve the engagement, rather than waste each other's time. Seeing the determination in Lin Ruoxi's eyes, Shen Junyan realized she wasn't joking, angry and anxious but helpless. He knew Lin Ruoxi was the Lin family's precious daughter. Lin Mingyuan and his wife doted on her completely. If she adamantly opposed the match, the family would likely agree to break it. Fine, excellent. Shen Junyan laughed bitterly in fury. Lin Ruoxi, you'll regret this. With that, he turned and stormed out. Watching his retreating back, Lin Ruoxi's eyes showed not a flicker of emotion. Regret, she'd only be grateful she'd come to her senses in time and avoided leaping into that fire pit. Soon enough, news of Lin Ruoxi's desire to break the engagement spread throughout the Lin household. Lin Mingyuan flew into a towering rage, summoning Lin Ruoxi to the hall. Ruoxi, do you realize your mistake? Marriage is a major matter, parents' orders, matchmakers' words. How dare you take such liberties? You want to break the engagement with the Shen family. Are you trying to ruin your own reputation and our family's face? Su chimed in persuasively. Ruoxi, mother knows you might be momentarily confused, but young Master Shen is from a good family, handsome and learned with brilliant prospects. Marrying him is your good fortune. Stop making a fuss and apologize to your father." Grandmother also frowned. "Ruuxi, listen to your grandmother. A girl's reputation is paramount. Once an engagement's broken, it becomes very difficult to find a suitable match. That Shen boy is quite good. Listen to your parents and prepare properly for your wedding." Lin Ruuxi looked at these family members who, for the sake of so-called reputation and fortune, completely disregarded her feelings. Her heart turned to ice. "I've done nothing wrong." Lin Ruuxi raised her head, gazing resolutely at Lin Mingyuan. "Shen Junyuan is not a good man. Marrying him would only destroy me. This engagement must be broken. You are utterly unreasonable." Lin Mingyuan slammed the table in fury. "Let me tell you, this engagement will be broken whether you like it or not. I absolutely won't agree to dissolve it. Father, if you won't agree to break the engagement, I'll have to use my own methods," Lin Ruoxi said coldly. "At worst, I'll ruin my own face and force the Shen family to call it off themselves. Then our family's reputation truly will be unsalvageable. You unfilial daughter." Lin Mingyuan was so angry he couldn't speak, his pointing hand trembling. Su was alarmed, quickly grasping Ruoxi's hand. "Ruoxi, you mustn't do anything rash. Disfigurement is such a serious matter. How can you even say such things?" "I am not talking nonsense." Lin Ruoxi's eyes were resolute. "I say it, and I'll do it. Father, mother, grandmother, I urge you to consider carefully. Rather than have me suffer after marrying into that family, better to break it off now. Better a short, sharp pain than prolonged agony." The hall fell into dead silence. Lin Mingyuan, his wife, and grandmother stared at Lin Ruoxi, unable to believe the usually gentle, compliant girl could speak with such finality. They knew Lin Ruoxi always meant what she said. If she truly disfigured herself, the Lin family would truly be finished. After a long while, Lin Mingyuan sighed heavily, conceding helplessly. Fine. Since you are this determined, I'll discuss breaking the engagement with the Shen family. But Ruoxi, don't you dare regret this later." "I won't regret it," Lin Ruoxi said firmly. Lin Mingyuan soon contacted the Shen family. Shen Junyuan, already furious over Lin Ruoxi's attitude, was even more incensed when the Lin family proactively sought to break the engagement. However, he knew a forced melon isn't sweet. If he truly compelled Lin Ruoxi to marry into the Shen household, she wouldn't be docile, ultimately interfering with his plans. After some discussion, the Shen family finally agreed to dissolve the engagement. When news of the broken engagement got out, the capital buzzed with gossip. Everyone discussed how Lin Ruoxi didn't know what was good for her. Rejecting such an excellent prospect as Shen Junyuan, she'd surely regret it eventually. Lin Ruoxi paid no heed to public opinion. Her most important task now was stockpiling supplies in preparation for the coming disaster. Using the excuse of arranging her dowry, Lin Ruoxi obtained a large sum of silver from her mother. She also sold several shops and plots of fertile land under her name at low prices, converting them to silver and grain. She instructed her trusted maid Chuyu to discreetly contact grain merchants and medicine dealers, purchasing large quantities of grain, medicinal herbs, winter clothing, fabric, and daily necessities. She secretly transferred everything into her space. She didn't waste the land in her space either, planting wheat, rice, vegetables, and other food crops, along with commonly used medicinal herbs. Nourished by the spiritual spring, these crops grew extraordinarily fast and soon yielded harvests. Lin Ruoxi also used the spiritual spring water to create ointments and pills. These medicines proved remarkably effective, not only treating external injuries but strengthening constitution. She stored all these ointments and pills in her space, planning to keep them for personal use or trade for needed items. Days passed. Lin Ruoxi's space filled with all manner of supplies, enough to ensure her survival in any harsh environment. Meanwhile, the capital's situation grew increasingly tense. The emperor fell gravely ill. Several princes openly and covertly struggled for succession, undermining each other. The Lin family, having been rather close to the deposed crown prince, found itself dragged into the vortex of this power struggle. Lin Mingyuan also sensed danger, worrying constantly yet helplessly. He tried distancing himself from the deposed prince, but it was too late. One day, as Lin Ruoxi was organizing supplies in her space, a commotion erupted outside. Miss Disaster, something terrible has happened. Chu Ye rushed in frantically, face ashen. What is it? Lin Ruoxi's heart sank with foreboding. The emperor has decreed that our Lin family colluded with the deposed crown prince in attempted treason. We're to be stripped of our property and exiled. Chu Ye stammered. So it had come. Lin Ruoxi's expression shifted briefly, but she quickly regained composure. She'd anticipated this day and made thorough preparations. I understand, Lin Ruoxi said calmly. Chu Ye, don't panic. Fetch the bundle I prepared earlier. Though frightened, Chu Ye obeyed, retrieving the bundle. It contained several simple garments and some silver everything Lin Ruoxi had prepared in advance. Soon, a group of constables stormed into the Lin residence, searching everywhere for valuables, turning the household upside down. Lin Mingyuan, his wife and grandmother, were hauled out by constables, faces pale, bodies trembling. Lin Yushuan was so terrified he burst into wailing sobs. Ruoxi, quickly give your silver and jewelry to the officers. Beg them to spare us. Seeing Lin Ruoxi, Su clutched at her like a drowning woman grasping a lifeline. Lin Ruoxi looked at her coldly without speaking. The head constable approached Lin Ruoxi, sizing her up with greedy eyes. So this is the Lin family's eldest daughter. Pretty face. But now's not the time for admiring beauty. The Lin family committed high treason. All assets will be confiscated. Everyone exiled 3,000 miles. Don't think you are exempt. With a wave, he signaled his subordinates to bind Lin Ruoxi as well. Lin Ruoxi didn't resist, allowing the constables to tie her up. She knew resistance would prove futile now, only creating more trouble. She needed to find an opportunity during the exile to break free from them. After ransacking every bit of Lin family property, the constables prepared to escort the family toward their place of exile. Before departing, Lin Ruoxi spotted Shen Junyan standing at a distance, coldly observing everything. Beside him stood a glamorous woman, Chu Wan, daughter of the Minister of Revenue. Seeing Lin Ruoxi bound, Shen Junyan showed not a trace of pity. Instead, his expression held smugness and schadenfreude, as if to say, "See, this is what you get for refusing to marry me." Lin Ruoxi glanced at him coldly, the corner of her mouth curling in mockery. Shen Junyan, you think you've won. This is merely the beginning. Eventually, I'll make you and Chu Wana pay dearly for everything you've done. The exile procession set out. The Lin family was bound in carts, jolting along the rough road. The constables were brutish, cursing and beating them, treating them as less than human. Su and grandmother couldn't endure such hardship, weeping constantly. Lin Mingyuan was dejected and silent. Lin Yushuan was so frightened. His soul seemed to have fled. He didn't even dare cry. Only Lin Ruoxi maintained her composure. During rest periods, she secretly sipped spiritual spring water to replenish her strength. She didn't take out a single item of food or medicine from her space. She knew these things were her lifeline. She couldn't waste them on those ungrateful wretches anymore. Sister, I am hungry. After several days' journey, Lin Yushuan finally couldn't bear it, crying and begging Lin Ruoxi for food. Su chimed in. Ruoxi, look how famished Yushuan is. Bring out something for him to eat. Didn't you stockpile lots of grain before? Lin Ruoxi said coldly. I have no grain. The constables confiscated everything. Where would I get grain? You are lying, Lin Yokshuan cried out. I definitely saw you putting things into some strange place before. You must have grain, you just don't want to give me any. Lin Ruoxi's heart jolted. She hadn't expected Lin Yushuan to have witnessed her storing items in her space. But she didn't panic. Even if he spoke up, no one would believe him. What nonsense are you spouting? Lin Ruoxi frowned. When did I put things into some strange place? You must be hallucinating from hunger. Hearing their argument, the head constable approached irritably. What is all this racket? Keep it up, and I'll throw you all out to feed the wolves. Yushuan was frightened into immediate silence. Su still wanted to persuade Lin Ruoxi, but was deterred by her icy stare. She could see that this time, Ruoxi had steeled her heart against helping them. The hardships of the exile road exceeded everyone's imagination. Without adequate food and water, without warm clothing, many fell ill. Grandmother, already elderly and frail, soon succumbed to the combination of rough travel, hunger, and cold. She burned with fever, trembling all over, clearly approaching death. Ruoxi quickly bring out some medicine for grandmother. Su knelt beside grandmother, tearfully begging Lin Ruoxi. I have no medicine. Lin Ruoxi repeated the same refrain. How can you be so cold-blooded and heartless? Lin Mingyuan said furiously. That is your grandmother, how can you just watch her die? Cold-blooded and heartless. Lin Ruoxi laughed coldly. Even if I am cold-blooded, I am better than you selfish ingrates. In my previous life, I gave you all my grain and medicine, and what happened? You abandoned me in the wilderness while you relied on Shen Junyuan's help to return to the capital and resume your comfortable lives. This life? Why should I help you again? Everyone in the Lin family froze. Confused by her words, what previous life? What abandonment in the wilderness? Only Lin Ruoxi knew she spoke the truth. She wanted them to know she wasn't a fool she'd seen through their true nature. What nonsense are you talking? Lin Mingyun frowned. What previous life and next life? Are you ill too? I am not ill, Lin Ruoxi said coldly. I am simply stating a fact. From today forward, we go our separate ways. Your survival has nothing to do with me. With that, Lin Ruoxi closed her eyes, unwilling to engage further. Several days later, grandmother died in the cold and hunger. The constables simply found a random spot to bury her before continuing the march. Grandmother's death intensified the Lin family's terror. They knew that without food and water, they'd eventually meet the same fate. That day, the procession reached a desolate mountain valley. Seeing dusk approach, the head constable decided to make camp there. Lin Ruoxi knew her opportunity had arrived. Deep in the night, everyone slept. Lin Ruoxi opened her eyes, carefully working free of the ropes binding her hands. The rope had left raw welts on her skin, making her wince with pain. She quietly slipped from the cart, using her spatial ability to stealthily transfer several of the most deeply sleeping constables into her space. Since time in the space was nearly frozen, trapping them there effectively immobilized them. She proceeded to use the same method on the other constables. Soon, only the Lin family remained in the camp. Lin Ruoxi approached the cart, gazing at the sleeping Lin Mingyuan, his wife, and Lin Yushuan, with utterly emotionless eyes. She retrieved a bit of grain and water from her space, placing it in the cart, her final gesture toward them. Farewell, Lin Ruoxi murmured softly before turning and vanishing into the night. After leaving the exile procession, Lin Ruoxi didn't relax her vigilance. She knew people from the capital would certainly send pursuers. She had to quickly find a safe place to live under a new identity. Using the spiritual spring, she altered her appearance. her formerly stunning beauty became plain and ordinary, resembling a common countrywoman. She changed into rough cloth garments and tied her hair in a simple ponytail. In the following days, Lin Ruoxi evaded pursuit while heading south. The southern climate was mild with abundant resources, an excellent place for hiding. Along the road, she encountered many refugees, mostly displaced by war and famine. Lin Ruoxi wasn't hard-hearted. Seeing their pitiful state, she brought out some grain from her space to share with them. Her kindness earned the refugees respect and gratitude. Many were willing to follow her and obey her commands. Seeing this, Lin Ruoxi conceived a bold idea she could lead these refugees to find a place and establish a home of her own. After months of arduous travel, Lin Ruoxi led several hundred refugees to a remote mountain region in the south. Here, the mountains were green, waters clear, soil fertile, and the area virtually uninhabited, very safe. Lin Ruoxi decided to settle here. Lin Ruoxi divided the refugees into several teams, some responsible for clearing wasteland and farming, others for building houses, still others for hunting and fishing. She distributed large quantities of grain and seeds from her space to the refugees and brought out medicinal herbs to teach them identification and cultivation. She also used the spiritual spring to improve the local water sources, helping crops grow better. Under Lin Ruoxi's leadership, the refugees' lives steadily improved. They constructed neat rows of houses, cleared vast stretches of farmland, and harvested abundant grain. They also established their own defensive systems to guard against wild beasts and bandits. Gradually, this remote mountain region transformed into a thriving estate. The refugees deeply respected Lin Ruoxi, regarding her as the estate's master. Lin Ruoxi named the estate Ruoxi Manor. She opened a school on the grounds so the children could learn to read and write. She also opened a clinic to provide free medical treatment. Days passed, Ruoxi Manor grew increasingly prosperous, attracting more and more refugees seeking shelter. Lin Ruoxi turned none away, as long as they were willing to work diligently and follow the manor's rules. She welcomed them. Meanwhile, the capital's political landscape underwent massive changes. The deposed crown prince was ordered to commit suicide. The other princes perished one after another in the power struggle. Ultimately, the third prince ascended the throne and changed the era name to Yongxing Shen Junyuan. Having firmly supported the third prince in the succession battle, received favor, and was appointed Minister of Revenue. Chu Wana became the minister's wife, basking in unlimited glory. Without Shen Junyuan's assistance, the Lin family suffered terribly on the exile road. Lin Yushuan died early from hunger and illness. Unable to bear the blow, Su went mad. Only Lin Mingyuan remained, scraping by miserably in exile. One day, several distinguished guests arrived at Ruoxi Manor court officials touring the south on inspection. Seeing the manor's prosperity, the officials were astonished. They hadn't expected to find such a prosperous estate in this remote mountain region. Learning of the officials' arrival, Lin Ruoxi didn't panic. She received them in her capacity as manor master. In conversation with the officials, Lin Ruoxi learned what had transpired in the capital. Hearing that Shen Junyuan had been appointed Minister of Revenue, cold light flickered in her eyes. She knew that sooner or later she'd settle accounts with him. The officials greatly admired Lin Ruoxi's capabilities and spirit. They believed Ruoxi Manor's model was excellent and could be promoted nationwide. They composed a memorial describing the manor's situation and submitted it to the emperor. Emperor Yongxing had just ascended the throne. With everything in disarray, he was troubled about how to address the refugee problem. Reading this memorial, he was delighted beyond measure. He never imagined that in this remote southern mountain region, such a capable person could single-handedly establish such a prosperous and stable estate. Excellent. What a splendid Ruoxi Manor. What a remarkable Master Lin. Emperor Yongxing exclaimed in admiration. immediately issuing a decree summoning Lin Ruoxi to the capital for an imperial audience. When the decree reached Ruoxi Manor, Ruoxi was in the estate school, listening to children recite poetry. Chuyu rushed in excitedly, face full of joy. Miss, the Emperor has decreed that you are to come to the capital for an audience. The scroll in Lin Ruoxi's hand paused. She looked up, eyes glinting sharply, an imperial audience. Perfect. She could settle those old scores weighing on her heart. Understood. Lin Ruoxi set down the scroll, expression calm. Make preparations, we depart for the capital in 3 days. Hearing Lin Ruoxi would travel to the capital, the manor's residents came to see her off, carrying homegrown fruit and homebrewed wine, stuffing them into her cart, eyes full of reluctance. Master, you must return quickly. Master, the capital's full of treacherous people, you must be careful. Master, we'll wait for your return. Looking at the residents gathered around her, Lin Ruoxi felt warmth surge through her heart. This life, she finally had people who truly cared for her. She nodded gently, voice warm yet firm. Don't worry, I will return. 3 days later, Lin Ruoxi and Chuyu set out from Ruoxi Manor in a simple cart, heading north. After months of travel, they reached the capital. The capital remained prosperous, busy streets, bustling crowds. Yet behind this prosperity lurked countless schemes and machinations. Lin Ruoxi lifted the cart curtain, gazing at the familiar buildings lining the streets, eyes utterly unmoved. This place had once been the site of her heartbreak, and this life where she'd seek justice. Lin Ruoxi didn't rush to see the emperor. Instead, she first lodged at a villa outside the capital. She'd purchased this secluded, quiet villa with silver from her space, perfect for temporary residence. She had Kyue discreetly gather intelligence about the capital, especially Shen Junyun's movements. Kyue soon returned with news. Shen Junyun was now Minister of Revenue, wielding great power and enjoying tremendous prestige. Chu Wan, as the minister's wife, frequently entered the palace to socialize with noble ladies, living in absolute splendor. As for the Lin family members, aside from Lin Mingyun, still barely surviving in exile, the others were gone. Hearing this news, a cold smile curved Lin Ruoxi's lips. Living in splendor, soon they'd plummet from the clouds and shatter completely. Several days later, Lin Ruoxi changed into elegant brocade robes and rode to the palace. At the palace gate, the eunuch assigned to receive her had been waiting. Seeing Lin Ruoxi, surprise flickered in his eyes. The woman before him had plain features yet exuded a unique bearing, composed, dignified, naturally commanding respect, without anger. Not daring to slight her, the eunuch respectfully led Lin Ruoxi into the palace. In the imperial study, Emperor Yongxing was absorbed in reviewing memorials. Hearing the eunuch's announcement, he looked up, gaze, settling on Lin Ruoxi. This commoner, Lin Ruoxi, pays respects to your majesty. Long live the emperor. Long live, long live. Lin Ruoxi performed the proper obeisance, movement standard, tone calm. Rise. Emperor Yongxing's voice rang out, tinged with curiosity. So you are the master of Ruoxi Manor, truly young and accomplished. Lin Ruoxi rose, meeting Emperor Yongxing's gaze frankly and respectfully. Your majesty is too kind. This commoner merely did what little she could to provide displaced people with shelter. Emperor Yongxing nodded, his impression of Lin Ruoxi growing more favorable. He asked several questions about Ruoxi Manor. Lin Ruoxi answered fluently, her insights unique and profound, earning the emperor's admiration. Excellent. What a remarkable Lin Ruoxi. Emperor Yongxing laughed heartily. We were right about you. We hereby confer upon you the title of County Princess of Anxiang, with a reward of 1,000 taels of gold and 100 bolts of brocade. Henceforth, You shall be responsible for promoting the Ruoxi Manor model nationwide. County Princess of Anxiang, though, not the highest title. It was genuine honor. Moreover, Emperor Yongxing entrusted her with the important task of promoting Ruoxi Manor's model nationwide, demonstrating tremendous confidence in her. Lin Ruoxi bowed again. This commoner, thanks your majesty for your gracious favor. I shall devote all my efforts to living up to your majesty's trust. Just then, the study door opened, and a man in official robes entered. Seeing Lin Ruoxi, he froze, eyes full of shock. This man was Shen Junyan. Shen Junyan had come to report on the Ministry of Revenue's work. He never expected to encounter Lin Ruoxi in the imperial study. He frowned, finding the woman before him vaguely familiar, yet unable to place where he'd seen her. After all, Lin Ruoxi's appearance had become ordinary, completely different from the stunning Lin family, eldest daughter of before. Seeing Shen Junyan, Emperor Yongxing smiled. Junyan, come, let us introduce you. This is Master Lin Ruoxi of Ruoxi Manor, whom we've just conferred the title County Princess of Anxiang, County Princess Lin. This is Minister of Revenue Shen Junyan. Lin Ruoxi looked up, gaze falling on Shen Junyan's face, lips curving in a faint smile edged with bone-chilling coldness. Minister Shen, it has been a while. Hearing that familiar voice, Shen Junyan's body jerked as if struck by lightning. He stared at Lin Ruoxi, eyes wide, voice trembling. You are Lin Ruoxi? Impossible. Lin Ruoxi should have died long ago on the exile road. How could she appear here and become a county princess conferred by the emperor? Lin Ruoxi smiled faintly. I am honored Minister Shen still remembers me. Shen Junyan's face turned deathly pale, his mind in turmoil. He never imagined that this woman he'd assumed was long dead would transform into someone in the emperor's favor. Emperor Yongxing, sensing the awkward atmosphere, frowned. What is this? You two know each other? Shen Junyan suppressed his panic, forcing a smile. Reporting to your majesty, this minister once had a few encounters with County Princess Lin's father, Lin Mingyuan, so I recognized the county princess. I see. Emperor Yongxing nodded, without further thought, but Lin Ruoxi laughed coldly, her voice clear and resonant throughout the study. What nonsense is Minister Shen spouting? Our relationship goes far deeper than that. Years ago, Minister Shen schemed relentlessly to marry me. But once the Lin family fell, he immediately abandoned me and seized the opportunity to gobble up Lin family assets. Surely Minister Shen hasn't forgotten. Boom. Shen Junyan's mind went blank. He never expected Lin Ruoxi would expose these matters before the emperor. Emperor Yongxing's expression immediately darkened. Looking at Shen Junyan, his gaze sharpened. Shen Junyan, is what County Princess Lin says true? Trembling violently, Shen Junyan dropped to his knees. Your Majesty, investigate. This minister is innocent. County Princess Lin is slandering me. This minister did indeed have a betrothal with the Lin family, but they initiated the broken engagement. As for seizing Lin family assets, that is complete fabrication. Fabrication. Lin Ruoxi scoffed, drawing a stack of papers from her sleeve and throwing them before Shen Junyan. What are these? Account books from when you absorbed Lin family shops, bearing your personal signature. And these correspondence between you and Chu Wana, detailing in explicit detail how you colluded, framed the Lin family, and seized their assets. Minister Shen, with this ironclad evidence, do you still deny it? Seeing the scattered ledgers and letters, Shen Junyan's face went white as paper, trembling even more violently. He'd burned these items where had Lin Ruoxi obtained them. He didn't know these items all came from Lin Ruoxi's spatial storage. In her previous life, she'd stumbled upon them, but lacked power to resist Shen Junyan. This life, she'd carefully preserved them in her space, waiting for precisely this moment. Emperor Yongxing picked up the ledgers and letters, flipping through several pages, his expression growing darker. Having dealt with Shen Junyuan, Lin Ruoxi didn't relax. She knew that woman Chu Wan couldn't be spared either. She looked up at Emperor Yongxing, speaking solemnly, "Your Majesty, Chu Wan, as Shen Junyuan's wife, colluded with him in framing the Lin family. I beseech your Majesty to grant the Lin family justice and restore our good name." Emperor Yongxing nodded and immediately issued a decree. "By our command, arrest Chu Wan and imprison her for interrogation alongside Shen Junyuan. The Lin family suffered grave injustice, exonerate them immediately, and return all seized assets." When the decree went out, the capital was shaken to its foundations. The once glorious Minister of Revenue Shen Junyuan had become a prisoner overnight. Minister's wife Chu Wana was thrown into prison as well, utterly disgraced. This news soon reached the place of exile. Lin Mingyuan had by then been reduced to begging for survival, dressed in filthy rags, gaunt and emaciated. When he heard the news, he was crouched by the roadside, gnawing mouldy flatbread. Learning that Lin Ruoxi had not only survived but become a county princess conferred by the emperor, vindicating the Lin family's grievances, the flatbread dropped from his hand with a soft thud. He stood dazed for a long moment, then suddenly burst into wailing sobs. He regretted everything, truly regretted it all. He regretted not listening to Lin Ruoxi, regretted treating her so harshly, regretted abandoning her on the exile road. But it was too late for everything. Su had gone mad long ago and couldn't recognize anyone. Lin Yushuan was already dead. Of the entire vast Lin family, only he remained, utterly alone. He wanted to find Lin Ruoxi, to beg her forgiveness. But he didn't even have travel funds, and besides, what face did he have left to see her? Lin Mingyuan wept for a very long time, before finally collapsing unconscious by the roadside. When he came to, he'd contracted a serious illness. Within days, he died miserably in a ruined temple. When this news reached Lin Ruoxi's ears, she was standing on the field ridges of Ruoxi Manor, watching residents harvest crops. Chu Ye looked at her somewhat worriedly. "Miss, they say Lin Mingyuan has died. Are you sad?" Lin Ruoxi shook her head, gazing calmly into the distance. "Not sad. Having endured my previous life's anguish, I've long since lost any feelings for those Lin family members. Their life or death has nothing to do with me. What I have now are Ruoxi Manor's residents, this peaceful and harmonious land, and a life that belongs to me." Several days later, Emperor Yongxing again summoned Lin Ruoxi to the capital. This time, he wanted her to remain and assume an important position. But Lin Ruoxi declined. Kneeling before Emperor Yongxing, she spoke earnestly. "Your Majesty, this commoner is by nature casual and unaccustomed to the capital's formalities. Ruoxi Manor's residents need me. That land needs me. I beseech your Majesty's understanding." Seeing Lin Ruoxi's resolute eyes, Emperor Yongxing finally nodded. "We understand. Since your mind is made up, we shan't force you. Should you ever need our assistance, come to us without hesitation." This commoner, "Thanks, your Majesty." Lin Ruoxi kowtowed in gratitude. The day she left the capital, the sun shone brightly. Lin Ruoxi sat in her cart and lifted the curtain for one last look at this prosperous capital. From this day forward, everything here was irrelevant to her. She waved her hand. The cart slowly departed the capital, heading south toward Ruoxi Manor, her home. Cart rolled along the smooth official road. Chu Yu said excitedly, "Miss, we're finally going back to Ruoxi Manor. The residents must be terribly anxious." Lin Ruoxi smiled softly, eyes full of warmth. "Yes, we're going home. Home to fresh air, honest people, and boundless vitality. This life," she'd finally shed the shadows of her past and welcomed her own sunlight. As for those who'd once hurt her, they'd all paid terrible prices and vanished forever from her life. From this day forward, Lin Ruoxi would live for herself and for Ruoxi Manor's residents. She'd lead them in clearing more land, planting more grain, making Ruoxi Manor increasingly prosperous and strong. Years later, Ruoxi Manor had developed into one of the most prosperous estates in the south. The school rang with students' voices, the clinic saved lives, residents lived in peace and contentment, a scene of perfect harmony. And Lin Ruoxi had finally found, in this sanctuary she'd built with her own hands, the happiness and belonging that were truly hers. This life, she was no longer the manipulated Lin family eldest daughter, but the mistress of Ruoxi Manor, master of her own fate. With her own hands, she'd written an entirely different life chapter. The past was like smoke, grievances were settled. Lin Ruoxi stood atop Ruoxi Manor's highest peak, watching the sunset paint the sky crimson. A faint smile curved her lips, her eyes steady and bright. And that, dear listeners, wraps up our tale. If you've ever found yourself lost in a relationship that drained you dry, if stories of awakening and rebirth speak to your soul, do us a kindness, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And down in the comments, I am genuinely curious, do you reckon Lin Ruoxi got it right? How would you handle family members who treat you like an emotional cash machine? We'll be back with another cracker of a story next time. Catch you then.